Good evening, hello and welcome to this edition of the Startup Central. I'm Nayantara Rai, working from home. I hope you're all safe, healthy and practicing safe social distancing in the third phase of this lockdown. During the lockdown, and in fact before it, when the Prime Minister first announced the Janta curfew, what he did was also to discourage Indians to go to clinics, to not go in for elective treatments. And now we are all scared to go to doctors, we're all scared to go to clinics, and telemedicine has become the rage. It's how most of us have accessed healthcare, which means it has been a booming business for all of those in the telemedicine space. I'm going to be discussing that and a lot more in this edition of the Startup Central over the next 30 minutes. Before I invite my guests, ladies and gentlemen, just a quick reminder, you can stay in touch with us. Our email address right on top, suc@etnow.tv. We love constructive feedback. Write into us, tell us how we can improve the show, what you would like to see on the show. Pitch to us, who knows, maybe one day you'll even be a part of the show. You can also reach out to me directly on Twitter. And with that, I'm going to invite my next guest, Portea. Meena Ganesh, joining us right here on Startup Central. Meena Ganesh, I hope your entire team at Portea are safe and healthy. A lot of people have been relying on you to get access to healthcare. Do you want to tell us a little bit of how life has been for Portea since, let's say, the last week of March 20th?
Hello, it's a pleasure to be here on the show. Thank you for inviting me. Can you hear me, Nayantara? I lost you for a
Yes, loud and clear. Go ahead.
Fantastic. Okay, let me continue. So, Portea provides outside of hospital healthcare, which means any healthcare that people need, which is not in a facility but needs to be delivered either at home or through telecom or through digital technology, or any other fashion in which they want to acquire that healthcare service. So we provide about 150,000 home visits to people at home, in their homes and perhaps in their offices. So obviously, as you can well imagine, the lockdown and the inability of people to travel into people's homes did create a big disruption right at the start. So the last week of March and the first week of April, we really struggled to figure out how to deal with this change that has come about. And then in the meantime, the government also and the various administrative departments also figured out how to allow healthcare workers to move around. So a good deal of that sorting out got happened. So now we are back into people's homes and providing services there, because people's fear of going to the hospitals and to clinics and to facilities continues to be pretty high, as well as people, the more vulnerable people are not even expected to step out of their homes. The biggest population which gets impacted in all of this is, of course, the small babies, but more importantly, the elders, people who are 65 plus and have comorbidities, have got any kind of pre-existing health conditions, are the most vulnerable when it comes to being infected by this virus. So we have been getting a lot of requests, a lot of support that people are looking for at home or through technology, such that the elders, the seniors can be kept safe, but also their health issues can be managed. So we've seen a spike in the number of calls that we get, in the requests for teleconsultation, in the request for some of the other services that we provide at home. The other interesting thing which has happened is that people are looking at some of the more complex healthcare services that they were going to facilities for. They want to get those also at home. To give you an example, people want to get chemotherapy delivered at home, because the people who have cancer are probably the highly immunocompromised people, who when go into the hospital could pick up other infections. I mean, COVID is one, but any other infections also they can pick up. So there is a lot of fear in going to hospitals for these facilities, and people are asking if we can help them in delivering these kind of services, and that has been happening. There is a big change that I expect that will happen in people's behavior over the next few weeks and months, because this, as the lockdown gets eased, the chances of infection, especially for the more vulnerable population, is higher. So we do need to find ways of keeping them safe and keeping them healthy.
No, I take those points. Meena Ganesh. Never before have we actually realized maybe how vulnerable our healthcare infrastructure system is. And realizing that as well, what you saw was the government swinging into action. It was actually during the lockdown, a lot of regulations around telemedicine became clear. Do you want to tell our viewers about that? It's something that all of you had been pressing for, asking the government for, and it actually took COVID and a lockdown for it to become a reality.
That's a very valid point that you make, Nayantara. The need for teleconsultation has been there for a long time, but because and all these years, all of us who are healthcare providers have always been asking, is there some way that can you please clarify what is okay, what is not okay, what we can and what we can't do? And there was a great deal of um, lack of clarity and uncertainty around what's right and what's wrong as far as teleconsulting is concerned. The government has very creditably moved quickly on multiple fronts, especially on the teleconsultation front and on on delivery of medicines at home on the e-pharmacy front. They quickly moved to provide regulations and guidelines such that people can provide these solutions to all the people at home who are desperately in need of healthcare. COVID is just one thing. People have a pre-existing conditions. They have other problems, and people have acute situations. They are worried about their health, and they don't know whether they can go or not. Very quickly, this regulation was brought in is extremely creditable, and I congratulate the government for being so nimble on their foot as far as these regulations are concerned.
Now, I want to ask you how booming the business has been, and do you think it's sustainable post-COVID? You're providing a lot of services, which means we don't have to anymore go to clinics, we don't have to go to hospitals. It takes 3 weeks to form a habit. Do you think it's become a habit?
It's a good point you make. Is this a flash in the pan, or is this going to continue? That is your question. I think the requirement for healthcare at patients' homes or patients' phones, whichever way you look at it, is a very fundamental part of the overall ecosystem. It does not take away from the need for institutional care. It does not take away from face-to-face consultation, face-to-face procedures. All of those have a place. The problem in India has been that for everything, the smallest of things, all of us have rushed to a specialist. That has been our behavior. And this has really come up in the last perhaps decade or 15 years. Prior to that, obviously, the doctors used to come home. And if you go to some of the old movies, you will see one doctor with a little bag coming into people's homes and attending to the patients. And that's how it used to be. So from there, we moved a complete 180 degrees and moved everything into the facility-based care. Now, there are huge advantages of facilities. There are huge advantages of keeping care at home, and there is a need for both of these to progress in an organized way in the whole Indian ecosystem. And this particular crisis will probably set right the balance and make sure that what needs to be done at home or outside of hospital gets done there, and what needs to be done in the hospital or in a facility gets done there. So it's more writing the balance rather than changing something to a completely new way of working. It probably brings back what is appropriate for the industry. Globally also, if you see, this home care and telemedicine and delivery of medicines at home are very important parts of the overall healthcare ecosystem apart from the facility-based care. In India, it has taken the back end. Now that's probably going to get changed a bit more, and I do believe that it will be a while before the fear factor goes out of people's minds, and in that process perhaps there will be behavior change for the future. And like I said, the more that we open up now, the more careful that we have to be for our vulnerable population, and the community based care is what will be
Meena
crucial
Ganesh, if I
in
could interrupt you. Meena Ganesh, please allow me to interrupt you there. You know, when we talk about the fear factor, how are you allaying fears to the person from Portea who's coming to my house, whether it is for dialysis, whether it is for any kind of a test, whether it is to give me intravenous medicines, is also COVID free? I'm sure that fear psychosis is also there, and therefore, how are you keeping everyone on Portea side safe and COVID free?
Yeah, very good question, and it's on both the sides. While the patients want to ensure that the people who are coming to their homes to take care of them or provide them healthcare services are COVID free, equally we want to ensure that the homes that my employees go into, or my clinicians go into, are also COVID free. I don't want my clinicians to get any infection from those homes. So on both the fronts, it's important to do the assessment, make sure that the families are free from any risk factor. Service providers are free from any risk factor, and where required, carry out any testing and then only send them. So we do a very detailed assessment of both the sides before we actually deliver the service at home.
And can you tell me what have been some of the more popular services? You know, you have a situation where the super senior citizens will need help. Senior citizens need help. I brought up, for example, dialysis is, you know, other problems, whether it is chemotherapy, for example, it could be something like a normal viral which has gone out of hand and you don't want to go to the hospital, just fearing the worst. What do you think the people have been most comfortable coming to Portea for?
So there are a few things. One is just providing at the base level, making sure that the senior citizens are being supported with whatever day-to-day activities of daily living, as we call them. That is something which is very important. So that's what we call as elder care, making sure that they are able to go about their daily routine. If they are in bed, then they're taken care of. If they're not in bed, mobilizing them and making sure that they're able to do their activities. The second is there are a lot of requests, especially for those who are sick, fairly seriously sick. They require long-term nursing care. So a qualified nurse to stay at home and look after the sick patient on a 24-hour or 12-hour basis. The third thing, which now is coming in as a big request, is a lot of nursing services like injections, IV, fluid infusions. Somebody is having diarrhea. They need saline injection for maybe 12 hours, and so that they're able to get back to normal. As well as the more complex things such as administering chemotherapy injections or infusions at home. Those are some of the key things that are coming in for requests from our patients today.
And with that, Meena Ganesh, you know, here's wishing you and the entire team at Portea all the very best. Stay safe, stay healthy. A lot of people relying on you. We'll keep hoping to get you back here on Startup Central. Thank you so much for this interview.
Bye.